Don't update OBS yet. Version 32.2 shipped, then needed an emergency hotfix 3 days later, and there's a change in it that will silently break your plugins on every platform until you know what to check. A quick preview so you know what applies to you. On Mac, here's the 10-second check right now. Open Activity Monitor, click the CPU tab, find OBS in the list, and then look at the kind column. If it says Apple, you're fine. If it says Intel, hang tight. I'll tell you exactly why that matters in a minute. On Windows, if you run a Stream Deck or a handful of specific third-party plugins, something changed under you that you need to know about. And if you're on Linux, there's a real fix in here for you too, not just an afterthought. Stick around for your platform. OBS shipped 32.2 on July 21st and already pushed a hotfix 3 days later, and there's still no official breakdown of what changed. So here's the practical version, what's in it, and what might break for you. The biggest visible change is how you add a source, and this hits everyone, regardless of your operating system. It used to be a drop-down menu, now it's a dedicated dialog window, and you'll find this in OBS's own release notes. Let's take a look at that right now. We'll click on the plus sign to go to Sources. And right away, you'll see the change. You'll notice there's big icons. Those are showing you what you have already created inside OBS. Now, adding a new source really hasn't changed too much. It's just this initial screen that looks different. Let's go ahead and add another source. Let's add a new window capture. So we'll select Window Capture. We'll click Add a new window capture. We'll select the window. Let's choose Solitaire. For now, we'll just say OK. Here we are with our traditional screen that we're used to seeing inside of OBS. If we go back into the Add Source menu, you'll see the new window capture is displayed in the recently created area with a real-time update on the screen. So if you add a new camera, it will show real-time that camera view, which is kind of helpful when you're trying to figure out what all of those sources are that you've added in the past. A cool new feature about this, plugin developers can now give their custom sources their own icons in this dialog as well. So if you run a lot of third-party sources, this is where you're going to notice it. One thing to do before you upgrade, no matter what platform you're on. OBS has backup built in, and you don't need a plugin or to dig through files manually. Let me show you how to back up your settings inside of OBS. We'll start with our profile. So you want to click on Profile, choose Export, pick a location for it, and say Select Folder. If you had multiple profiles, you would just change your profile here, click Export, and select a location. There's one other thing you need to back up when you're inside of here, and that is your scene collection. So the way we back up our scene collection is we just select Scene Collection, click on Export, choose a location. I'll give it a different name. We'll call it Scene. We'll hit Save. And in here, we will find a file called scenes.json. That's all you need to do to back up your OBS settings. If anything breaks after the update, just import both of those right back and you'll be exactly where you started. Back to that activity monitor check from a few minutes ago. If it said Apple, you're running native, and this doesn't affect you. The drawback is, if it said Intel, OBS has been running translated through Rosetta this entire time. And 32.2 is the update that forces that install over to the native Apple Silicon build. Any third-party plugin you're running will stop loading until the developer ships a version built for that. Now, there's a way to not get blindsided by that before you update. Go check each of your third-party plugins for an Apple Silicon build. If they've already shipped one, you're good. If they haven't, you know exactly what you're trading away by updating. And since you already backed up your profile and scene collection like I showed you, at least your settings are safe either way. That's not going to unbreak a plugin, but it means you're not starting from zero if you end up rolling back to a previous version of OBS. And if you're on genuinely old Intel hardware, a real Intel chip, none of this applies. That hardware can't run the Apple Silicon build at all, so you just keep running the old Intel version like always. If you're on Windows, here's your update. And this is the part almost nobody else covering this update is really talking about right now. If you run a Stream Deck with a dial mapped to toggle mute, that action used to toggle monitoring back in version 32.1. In 32.2, OBS removed the separate monitor-only control and folded it into the mixer icons. And now that same dial action toggles mute instead. It's the same button, but it's a different result. People are reporting this on the OBS forums right now. I'll put a link to the OBS forums below. Separately, OBS tightened how it loads program files on Windows in 32.2, and some third-party plugins are failing to load because of it. The Region of Interest plugin is one specific example people are talking about on the forum. If a plugin was already built loosely for 31.x, it's at a higher risk here. And one more update hygiene note that applies to Windows and Linux Nvidia users both. This one's in the official 32.2.1 release notes directly. The Nvidia SDK got bumped to version 13, which raises the minimum supported driver version to 570. If NVENC starts acting up after you update, make sure you check your GPU driver before you touch any OBS setting. And if you're on Linux, here's your update. I'm not on Linux day-to-day, so I'm not going to pretend I tested this myself, but it is a real fix, not a minor tweak. If you're running OBS on Linux with an Nvidia card and you've had PipeWire screen capture just fail on you under Wayland, that bug is fixed in 32.2. AV1 over WIP streaming with VAAPI hardware encoding also works now, and 32.2 does officially support Ubuntu 26.04 alongside 24.04. Here's 2 quick notes for a smaller slice of you. Feel free to skip to the recap if this isn't in your setup. There's a new filter that composites SDR content into an HDR scene. If you're mixing HDR capture with older SDR sources, then this one's for you. And multi-track video now supports dynamic bitrate. If you stream through a multi-track capable service, this adjusts your bitrate on the fly instead of holding a fixed number for the entire stream. So to sum it up, back up your profile and scene collection before you do anything. There's a new Add Source Dialog, SDR to HDR filter, and dynamic bitrate for multi-track on all platforms. Then a plugin compatibility shakeup that seems to hit everyone differently. Mac users need to check if OBS has secretly been running translated. Windows users with a Stream Deck or older plugins need to check those. And NVENC users on either Windows or Linux need a driver at 570 or newer. Whatever you're on, don't update blind. If you're still running third-party plugins after everything I just covered, I've got a full tutorial on setting up Source Record for multi-camera recording. That's linked here if you haven't seen it. Drop what you're running into the comments, whatever platform, and I'll keep tracking this as OBS puts out the official notes. I hope this was useful. I'll see you in the next video.